Ang tamang design is, once failure occurs, makikita mo siya dapat kaagad. So again, balik tayo dun sa question, paano mo ba malalaman pag safe yung building mo when it comes to collapse due to earthquake? Ang sagot ko lang dyan is, dumaan ba sa design yung building mo? During construction ba, may nag-check kung tama pa din yung yung execution ng design to construction or to building? And lastly, meron bang nag-manifest na mga damages along the building na kailangang i-check ng mga designer if safe pa din ba ang building or hindi, o kailangan na bang i-retrofit ito? Ganon yung tatlong sagot ko. Kaya ang hirap magsabi na isang tingin lang, alam ko nang safe yung building mo. Kung akong tatanungin nyo, hindi yun proper. Dapat meron pa ring investigation na mangyayari to check if tama, safe pa ba yung building na to. Tagal natin hindi nakapag-record ng ganito sa bahay lang. Now, for the past weeks actually, masyadong maraming nangyari, especially sa usaping lindol. Nag-umpisa lahat nung lumindol sa Cebu. Nagkaroon ng 7.1 na lindol, tapos pinalitan ng 6.9. Although, relatively nasa 7 magnitude ng lindol, devastating the northern part of Cebu. Ngayon, for the following days, sunod-sunod na yung mga malalakas na lindol. Pag nagsabi kasing malakas, pagka around 4 to 5 and above, ramdam na siya at malakas siya. Devastating kasi sa lindol, especially sa behavior nito, is yung matagal. Kunyari yung movement ng ng lindol, napakatagal. Ang impact kasi niya, igagalaw niya talaga yung structures or yung buildings. Mula Luzon, Visayas, hanggang Mindanao, meron nangyaring lindol. And actually, as of the moment, most likely, merong lindol. Even if you visit yung Facebook page ng FIVOX, every other hour, or siguro every 30 minutes, may pinopost silang lindol. Kasi yung yung parang system nila, kahit maliliit lang, kunyari mga 1.1, 2 point something na lindol, nire-record, pinopost nila yon. So, kahit hindi siya ganun karamdam sa surface level, pinopost nila. With that context, meaning, ang fault lines along the Philippine tectonic plate, active siya. Given yun kasi nasa Ring of Fire nga tayo Given yun. Hindi lang naman yung lindol, pati yung vulkan, active. The best example here in Negros, yung Canlaon. As of my recording, nag-alburuto siya kaninang umaga. Pero hindi naman ganun ka-devastating. Lang siya, nagpalabas ng abo. Now, since this is happening, gusto ko siyang gawa ng video kasi right now, I think merong hysteria, merong kaba yung mga tao. Especially that, unlike bagyo, na kayang i-predict yung yung path niya, yung kung kailan siya nabuo. Ang lindol kasi instantaneous, biglaan. So kumbaga, ang sense of control ng tao is yun yung compromised. Gets nyo? Kasi I know people, if hindi siya or out of their control, doon nagsisimula yung kaba Doon nagsisimula yung takot. So, siguro ito, pag-usapan natin, how do you know if ang bahay ba or yung building na tinitirhan mo or dyan ka nag-o-office or nagtatrabaho is safe from collapse due to earthquake. Paano mo ba malalaman yon? Pag tinanong mo siguro ang isang engineer, halos lahat siguro kami hindi sasagot ng pag ganyan ginawa nyo, safe yan. Hindi kami basta-basta magsasabing safe ka agad yan. Bakit? Kasi there are different considerations when it comes to building structures. May mga procedures na tinitignan, may mga standards na kinoconsider, and then it all boils down to computation. Bigyan ko muna kayo ng context no, on how does building a structure works in the construction field. Bibigyan ko muna kayo ng context. For simplicity, there are two phases of construction. Meron tayong design phase at meron tayong construction phase. Now, for other engineers out there, I know merong magre-react. Ito sinimplify ko lang kasi. Pero I know there are several phases kung sa field natin. Pero to simplify lang again, para sa sa pangkalahatan, let's put it in design and then construction. Ganun lang. Para to simplify. Now, during the design phase, ang consideration, ang proper design in structural, kasi ang pinag-uusapan dito is collapse. So, we will talk about structure or the frame of the building. For everybody, no, what does structural mean ba? So basically, ang structural is, kumbaga, yung pinaka-backbone of your building or your structure comprised of different structural members. Ano ba yung structural members? Baka ano na naman, masyadong technical. Structural members, basically, the material or the structure or the, the part of a building that carries load. Yun yung structural elements. Kung napaka-technical naman, to simplify it, basically the frame of the building or the structure. Yung frame na yan, yung nagbubuhat ng ng building natin. Katulad ng sige, bigyan natin ng simplified na sample, no. Kunyari, bike. Ang structural member ng bike is yung frame, yung mismo, yung bakal niya mismo. Kunyari sa basketball, yung ring. Ang structural member ng ring is yung mismong poste niya. Kasi yun yung nagbubuhat ng mismong ring. Kunyari, yung upuan. Ano ang structural member ng isang upuan? Siyempre, yung paa nito at yung platform na inuupuan mo. Yan yung structural members niya. Pati siyempre yung yung sa likod mo. Kasi binubuhat niya naman yung latag mo ng likod mo. Yan yung mga structural members niya. Kasi again, nagbubuhat ng bigat. Now sa bahay, sa building, basically, it's the formation of ang pagporma o pwesto ng mga poste at saka ng mga biga para buhatin yung mismong platform niya or yung slab. So yung structural members ng isang building is yung slab. Kasi yung slab yan yung nag-distribute ng lahat ng loads. Yung biga kasi siya yung sasalo ng bigat ng slab. Yung biga i-distribute niya ngayon yan sa mga poste. Si poste ngayon ang tatransfer ng bigat papunta sa pundasyon. And then, si pundasyon, itatransfer naman niya yung bigat dun sa lupa. Si lupa ang pinaka nagbubuhat. Ganon. To simplify everything. And during the design phase, to design a certain structure, paano magdagsabing design sa structural, aalamin mo kung ano yung konkretong gagamitin. Pag nagsabing konkretong gagamitin, ano yung strength niyan, 3,000 PSI ba, 4,000 PSI, 5,000 PSI, etc. And then kung ano yung bakal na gagamitin. Kung 16mm ba, 10mm, 20mm, and then yung grade level niya nung bakal. So, ayan yung yung mga kino-consider sa design. Kumbaga, pag nagsabing design ng structural, ano yung dimension ng structure, ano yung konkreto, ano yung bakal. Ganon yung design niya. Pati yung distances niya. Ganon. Going back. Now, how do engineers or designers identify kung anong materyales ang gagamitin. It all boils down to consideration of the loads. Load consideration. Now, ang pinaka-simpleng load consideration is yung live load at saka dead load. Ano na naman yung live load at saka dead load, no? Ang live load is yung occupancy or the use of the structure. Kunyari, kung mall ba siya, ano yung different ang occupancy niya. Kung lagayan ba siya ng equipment, ibang occupancy ulit yon. Kung storage room ba siya, iba na naman yung computation nun. Kung office ba siya or school, iba na naman yung consideration nun. So, yun yung live load. Basically, the purpose of the platform. Ano ba ang paggagamitan mo doon? Now, ano naman yung dead load? Yung dead load naman is the total weight of all non-live load materials or structure. Ano ba yun? Basically, ang bigat ng konkreto, bigat ng bakal, bigat ng mga permanent structure sa building, yung mga steel structures niya and so on. Basta mga permanent materials. Ganun yung consideration. Ngayon, aside from those two loads, meron pa tayong lateral load. Pag nagsabing lateral load, ito naman yung load na yung movement ng building na pa-horizontal. Sa lateral load, dito sa Pilipinas ang kino-consider na doon, wind load tsaka yung earthquake load. Ganun na yung consideration niya. Now, if with that given context na napakahabang explanation ko, no, na to simplify lang yung design phase sa structural. Meaning, if pinadaan mo sa tamang designer yung yung structure mo, those types of loads are already considered. Now, does that entail na safe na kaagad yung building mo sa lindol? 'Di ba? In theory, yes. In theory. Kasi ang ginagawa dyan, aside from those load consideration, kasi kunyari, lahat ng dead load na consider, no? Lahat ng live load na consider. Tapos, na-consider na yung pinakamalakas na hangin na possible na dumaan sa sa building nyo. Best example would be Yolanda speed. Yun yung kinonsider. For the for the earthquake siguro kasi in the NSCP may zonings naman yan eh. So the Philippines is considered the high risk yan na in seismic activity. In the Philippines, there are two zones lang, Zone 4 and Zone 2 lang. So in Zone 4, high expectation for seismic activity talaga dyan sa area na yan. So, in theory, considered yon. Now, aside from those consideration, nagdadagdag pa ng factor of safety. Kasi for unforeseen events, magdadagdag ka ng factor of safety kapag ka nag-fail yung initial consideration mo, may leeway ka. May additional consideration ka. So, ganun ang design. Again, back to the question, does that entail or does that mean na safe na kaagad yung building mo? For me, the answer is not yet. Kasi there is another phase na mangyayari. Ang unang pinag-usapan natin is the design phase pa lang. May kasunod na construction phase. In the construction phase, multiple heads na yung gumagalaw dyan. May kliyente or the proponent, pinaka may-ari ng structure, the contractor, yung gagawa, mag-e-execute, and if for big projects, may management pa yan. Si client mostly decides on the requirement, the initial requirement, tsaka yung costing. Si management, sila yung magmamanage ng resources, si contractor ang mag-e-execute. So may multiple heads na gumagalaw. Now, there is a possibility that during the construction phase, may mga changes na mangyayari from the design. That's a possibility. That is normal actually. That is very normal in the construction field. Na from the initial design, may mga ginagawang changes pa. Multiple reasons nga lang nangyayari. Meron possibly na limitation on resources kasi kunyari yung design na ginawa ni designer is not applicable dun sa sa area due to lack of resources, or kung hindi man lack of resources, napakamahal niya. Next is may execution problem, meaning yung pagtrabaho ng contractor mismo is may mga supply. From the design phase going to the construction phase, there is possibility na merong magiging compromise from the initial design. Kaya sabi ko kanina, in theory, based on the design only, pwede mong sabihin safe. Pwede siyang sabihin safe. However, during the execution, doon na tayo magkakatalo. There's a possibility na na may compromise na nangyari. Who would now ensure that the building, the structure is still safe? That would be both the contractor and the designer na. Now, ang mangyayari niyan, may as-built na mangyayari, and then the designer would check if nasunod ba yung mga design niya. Kaya dapat yung contractor is open enough to tell the designer about problems that they have encountered during the construction. Kailangan masabi nila. Kasi again, the moment na hindi nila sinabi, and then nagkaroon ng compromise, naging problem sa building after the fact or after the construction, pwede doon doon magtuturuan. Yan yung napakasakit especially sa construction. Anyway, after all that happens, magko-close out lang naman yan na if designer is already okay dun sa nangyari, kasi i-review naman ng designer ang as-built Kung okay, kasi ang as-built is the one, the document that the contractor assures that whatever was done or created in the plan was done correctly. Yun yung isa sa mga assurance niya. Isa sa mga assurance niya. Pangalawa, yung mga testing documents. So, if all that happens smoothly, and then na-assure naman ni designer o okay yung gawa ng contractor, then kung ako tatanungin, doon na ako magsasabi na yes, relatively safe ang building mo or ang structure mo when an earthquake happens, because everything follows the initial design or the design intention of the designer. Ganon yung yun yung hahanapin ko. Kung ako yung engineer na tatanungin mo, yun yung hahanapin ko to tell you that if that building is safe or not. Ngayon, paano kung yung building or yung bahay mo, pinagawa mo lang sa hindi engineer? Pag sinabi kong hindi engineer, pinagkatiwalaan na foreman or construction worker na gagawin yung bahay. Ito for me, as an engineer, very, very sensitive topic to para sa akin. Kasi based sa sa circle namin as engineers, pagka ni-review mo yung social media, especially for posts, videos about construction, ang mostly na dyan, na nag-i-interact sa comment section yan, is construction workers. And then ang usual na narrative nila is mali. Yung observation ko lang laging sasabihin nila na may mali sa sinabi mo as an engineer, or may hindi naman yan ginagawa namin. May mga ganong comments, or sabihin, sa tagal ko sa construction, wala naman kaming ginawang ganyan. Mga ganyang comments. May mga ganyang comments. Okay. If ako yung tatanungin nyo, okay, in fairness for those construction workers, we as engineers also rely to their expertise, to their skills. Kasi regardless of our design, regardless of whatever design done, yung diskarte ng execution kasi is still based sa foreman or sa worker na pinapagawa mo. Diba? So, ako naman, kung ako yung tatanungin mo, I'll just give you a perspective na lang of what are the impacts kung ang bahay mo, hindi mo siya pinadesign, kung hindi man bahay, no? Kung yung building mo, hindi mo pinadesign sa isang engineer bago mo siya pinagawa. Bigyan na lang kita ng perspective. Kunyari, you hired a foreman na sabihin na natin 20 years. 20 years na siya in construction. Tapos sabihin natin, most of those years, ang ginagawa niya is mga bahay. Ganun, let's give that context lang, no? Most, not all, but most of the projects na hawak niya before for the past 20 years is mga bahay, residential. Mapa 1 story or 2 story. Okay. Now, on that 20 years na nagtatrabaho siya, most probably, merong time na may kapartner siyang engineer na doon siya nag-aral, doon siya nagtuto. Ngayon, kunyari, nag-partner siya doon sa engineer na yon or sa multiple engineers man. Pag-aaralan niya na usually, pag ganitong klaseng bahay, ganitong klaseng framework, ganitong column, ganitong biga ang ginagawa namin. Kunyari, mostly na sasabihin yan, nakagawa na ako ng 2-story na bahay. Yung bakal na ginamit namin is 16mm na 6 na piraso. So ngayon, sa mga susunod niyang project, ganun na rin ang ginagawa niya. Okay, in all fairness, there's a possibility naman na okay yung yung napag-aralan niya. Pero, babalik pa din ako doon sa point of view sa design phase. Kasi most probably, yung engineer na naging partner niya during his time in construction is nakapag-design na before ng structures, ng columns, ng biga intended for those types of building. Kunyari ako, contractor ako, no? Gagawa ako ng bahay. Say, may 3 kwarto na 6 square meter per room. Ngayon sa 6 square meter, ay pwede na itong gawan ng, kumbaga, pinaka-convenient design na kahit i-apply ko yung design na ito to multiple buildings, multiple 1-story building is pasok pa din. As long as pasok yung mga consideration ko na say, yung mga poste ko dapat in every 3 meters meron. Yung biga ko dapat in every hindi dapat siya bababa sa 4 meters. So, ako naman as designer or as engineer, ide-design ko na yung lahat ng building ko ng ganon. Para hindi na ako mag-compute ng paulit-ulit. Ganon kasi yung mindset eh. Kaya, pwede na ako as engineer, nakita ko yung ganitong design, ay okay, pwede kong i-apply yung mga naging design ko, which I have already computed before. Ang i-check ko na lang dyan is paano yung magiging shape ng building ko. Kasi may factor pa yung shape eh. May factor yun sa pinaka-movement ng framework niya. Ngayon, dahil si foreman naging partner nga ng engineer na yon, na okay, naka-10 project na sila siguro na ganun pa ulit-ulit yung design ng na poste nila o kaya ng biga nila. Siya naman, kumuha din ng mga contracts na ganun din yung gagawin niya. Ang pinaka masaklap dyan is, what if yung nakasanayan ni foreman na distances ng column, na distances ng biga, what if iba ngayon yung naging load na actual dun sa sa gagawin niyang project. I'll give you a context, no? Kunyari, no, ang design engineer na kinopya ni Foreman is intended for 1-story or 2-story building lang. Ngayon si Foreman, naka-project ng 3-story. Kung hindi man 3-story, 2-story, pero complicated yung yung framework. Pag nagsabi akong complicated, hindi siya square, hindi siya rectangle, nakapa-letter L siya, o kaya naman naka-rectangle pero manipis. Manipis na manipis. So may mga kasi yun, may mga impact yun sa lateral movement. Which is again, hindi na i-consider yun ni Foreman. Kasi ang mindset ni Foreman, hindi, nagawa ko na yan dati. Nagawa ko na yan before. Pero ang before niya is based on the design of his initial partner na engineer, na ang consideration or ang initial consideration niya is normal dimension or basic dimension ng isang bahay. Doon papasok yung compromise. Tapos ang masaklap pa dyan is ang irarason pa sa'yo ng possible na sasabihin sa'yo ng kausap niyong foreman man siguro is yung last na building na ginawa ko na yan is 10 years nang tumatayo. So, syempre maniniwala ka, di ba? So, okay. In fairness siguro kay Foreman, yung nagawa niya doon is pasok doon sa initial consideration ng kinopyahan niya or yung pinagbasihan niya. So, in fairness sa kanya, okay. Kahit ako, wala akong question minsan kapag nagganyan yung Foreman unless otherwise contradicting na siya dun sa design or sa technicality ng design. So, ang next question dyan is, in those 10 years ba na nakatayo yung building na ginawa niya, nakaramdam na ba yon ng 6.9, 7.0 magnitude na lindol? Kumbaga, the lateral load, yung sasabi ko kaninang lateral load, yung horizontal movement, na supposedly considered during the design, though the moment na a-applyan mo ngayon nung actual lateral load or lindol, there's a possibility na tutumba or magko-collapse yung building. Because, again, hindi dumaan sa proper design phase yung building mismo. So again, hindi ko naman kinokontra yung mga foremans. Kasi I know, foremans and engineers, construction workers and engineers must work hand in hand. Okay? Ano talaga yan? No question dyan. For me, that's a really big help for engineers and construction workers, engineers and foremans to help each other. Para magawa natin nga yung ultimate goal, which is the structure. Isa din sa advantage kasi ng building or structure na pumasok sa design phase is that if you know the context of design, pag sinabing design mismo ang design kasi in structural, meron kaming parang general idea behind it na once failure happens, anong ibig sabihin mo na ng failure? Meaning merong damage, merong cracks, merong bending, may deflection, gano'n. Dapat hindi ko-collapse kaagad yung building. Ganun yung tamang design. Ano naman tong pinupunto ko? Meaning, kunyari, may biga ka, may beam ka. Meron ba akong dito? Kunyari, biga mo to. Yung wire na to, biga to. Kunyari, ito yung biga mo. Ngayon, the moment na applyan mo ng load kasi yan, ganyan yung movement niya, pababa. Ngayon, the proper design kasi is that the moment na magkakaroon ng excessive deflection or bumaba talaga to, nag-bend siya, may magmamanifest mo ng cracking. May magmamanifest mo ng mga discrepancies o kaya naman visual formations, may mga cracks, may mga spalling, may bakal na lumabas. May ganun munang mangyayari bago siya collapse, bago babagsak. For the occupants to have enough time to go out of the building, enough time for the owners of the building to retrofit the building mismo. Ganun ang tamang design. Ang tamang design is once failure occurs, makikita mo siya dapat kaagad. So again, balik tayo dun sa question, paano mo ba malalaman pag safe yung building mo when it comes to collapse due to earthquake? Ang sagot ko lang dyan is, dumaan ba sa design yung building mo? During construction ba, may nag-check kung tama pa din yung execution ng design to construction or to building? And lastly, meron bang nag-manifest na mga damages along the building na kailangang i-check ng mga designer if safe pa din ba ang building or hindi, o kailangan na bang i-retrofit ito? Ganon yung tatlong sagot ko. Kaya ang hirap magsabi na isang tingin lang alam ko nang safe yung building mo. Kung akong tatanungin nyo, hindi yun proper. Dapat meron pa ring investigation na mangyayari to check if tama, safe pa ba yung building na to. Kaya nga, ini-encourage ang mga building owners, especially for Metro Manila building owners, I know they are highly encouraged na every 10 years siguro, 20 years, basta in every decade, ipa-reassess ang building nila for structural defects. I don't know lang kung 10 years pero correct me if I'm wrong na lang. Pero I know at a certain number of years, dapat pinapa-recheck na yung structural integrity ng building. Kasi most probably due to, tuloy-tuloy na nagamit ng building, meron merong portions dyan or area na meron ng damage. Because, wear and tear din yan in time eh. So, ganun. I guess, yun yung yung gusto kong sabihin. I hope na nakatulong man ako to lessen or to give you information or idea on how or why the buildings collapse. O kaya naman, bakit merong excessive damage talaga yung isang building. Because again, if the building did not pass by or gone through proper design, magkakaproblema ka talaga. And then, proper design entails to lessen worries. Diba? So again, yun lang guys. Yun na yung pag-uusapan natin. I'm planning to do another video about recent na events din. So, I hope na okay to, na makatulong ako sa inyo. And then, tingnan natin kung mag-boom yung ganitong klaseng content. Kung hindi, okay lang din naman. Okay guys, thank you for listening siguro and watching. And kung gusto niyo yung ganitong klaseng ganitong usapan, comment down below na lang. And then see you on the next video. Bye.